Everyone to this video. So in this video I'm going to look at the cardiovascular system. So what is the cardiovascular system? So before we start, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and comment for more videos like this. So today our main topic is basically the cardiovascular system. So what is the cardiovascular system? So the cardiovascular system is basically a system which is responsible for the continuous flow of blood in the body. So we know that blood needs to be pumped out of the body. So for blood to be pumped out of the body, we need a specific system, and that system is known as the cardiovascular system. Then the cardiovascular system, because it allows the continuous flow of blood, it is also known as the circulatory system. So it is also known as the circulatory system. Because it allows the continuous flow of blood to all body parts. Yeah. So because the cardiovascular system is a system, it should consist of what? Small parts of the system which helps it to pump blood efficiency. So basically the cardiovascular system consists of the heart, blood vessels, and also what? Blood. Yeah. So the cardiovascular system basically consists of three things. We have the heart, which pumps the blood, and we also have the blood vessels, which basically carries the blood, and we also have the blood, which is the part being what? Pumped. Yeah. So now after we have known the introduction of what? The cardiovascular system, which is the circulatory system, and it consists of the heart, blood vessels, and also what? Blood. Next we are going to look at the location now. Where is the heart mainly found? So under cardiovascular system, our main focus will be the heart. The heart, because it is the main component of the cardiovascular system. So where is the heart located? So basically the heart is located in the mediastinum. So you have to remember this term. So the heart is basically located in the what? Mediastinum. Yeah. Yeah, so that's the first thing you need to know on the location of the heart. It is located in the mediastinum. So where is the mediastinum exactly? So the word itself can give you a hint. We have sternum at the end. So meaning it should be close to the what? To the sternum. Yeah. Then after that, it is located, you have said it is located behind the mediastinum. In the mediastinum, behind the sternum. So it is located in the mediastinum behind what? The sternum. So the sternum, it's this bone which is in front or anterior, which looks like a thigh. And it is also between the second and sixth ribs. Yeah, so in case you have asked to write the location in an essay, you can say that the heart is located in the mediastinum, behind what? The sternum, between the second and sixth rib. Then you also need to talk about the covering of the heart. What covers the heart? So basically the heart is covered by a sac which is known as the pericardium. So the pericardium is what basically covers the what? The heart. Yeah. Then the last thing you need to know on the location of the heart is where the apex is located. So what is the apex? So the apex, if you can see the diagram, the apex is this part of the heart, yeah, which joins the left border and the right border. So basically the apex is located at the what? Fifth intercostal space. So what is the intercostal space? So the intercostal space, these are the spaces between the ribs. So those spaces between the ribs are the one which are known as the intercostal space. And if you count from the first space until the fifth space, that's where now the apex is located. Yeah. So next, after looking at the location, we're going to discuss now some terms which you will come across under what? Under the cardiovascular system. So what are those terminologies? So the first terminology which you will come across is what is known as aneurysm. So what is an aneurysm? So basically an aneurysm, this is just the what? A sac-like protrusion. So this is just a sac-like protrusion, sac-like protrusion from a blood vessel. Yeah. So what do we mean by a sac-like protrusion? So when we talk about a protrusion is when something is out of order. Let's say this is a blood vessel. So normally a blood vessel is supposed to look like this. But when there is an aneurysm, a blood vessel will look like this. Yeah. So this part which is coming out is what is known as an aneurysm, a protrusion of a blood vessels, and this can be caused due to what? A weak spot in a blood vessels. So if a blood vessel, for example an artery, has a weak spot, so that spot can form an aneurysm. Then the next term we are going to talk about is arrhythmia. So what is arrhythmia? So when we talk about arrhythmia, this is just the abnormal heartbeat. So arrhythmia is just an abnormal heartbeat. Abnormal heartbeat. Yeah, so when we talk about arrhythmias, these are just abnormal heartbeat. Then the next term which we need to understand is blood pressure. So what is blood pressure? So blood pressure, this is just the pressure of the blood in the arteries of the, this is the pressure which is exerted by the heart in what? In pumping blood. Or it's just the pressure of blood in the arteries. So blood pressure can be defined in two terms. One, it is just the what? Pressure of blood in arteries. Yeah. Or it's just the what? The pressure which is exerted by the heart. So, or the pressure exerted by heart. Yeah. So this term, the blood pressure, we know that it's just what? The pressure of blood in the arteries, or the pressure the heart exerts while it's pumping blood. That's why we have high blood pressure and lower blood pressure. So when you have high blood pressure, we are saying that the pressure in the arteries is high. Then when you have low blood pressure, we are saying that the pressure in the arteries is low. Next, we are going to look at bradycardia. So what is bradycardia? So bradycardia is basically an abnormal slow heartbeat. So this is abnormal slow heartbeat. Yeah. So remember, arrhythmia, this is an abnormal heartbeat. Whereas bradycardia, it's abnormal slow. So when we're talking about bradycardia, we're talking about a slow heartbeat. Yeah. Then the last thing is the cardiomegaly. So what do we mean when we say cardiomegaly? So cardiomegaly is a combination of two words. We have the word cardio, which means heart, and we have the word megaly, which means enlarge. So cardiomegaly is just the enlargement of the heart. The heart. Yeah. So whenever you hear the word cardiomegaly, this is just the enlargement of the heart. So these are the terms which will come across under the cardiovascular system. We have aneurysm, arrhythmias, blood pressure, and bradycardia, and also what? Cardiomegaly. After looking at the terminologies or the terms which will come across under cardiovascular system, we are going to look at now the external structure of the heart. Remember, I told you that in this video I'm going to focus mainly on the heart. Yeah. So what makes up the external part of the heart? So the external part of the heart is basically made up by 4 chambers. So what are those 4 chambers which make up the external part of the heart? So we have the 2 upper chambers which are known as the atria, and we have the 2 lower chambers which are known as the ventricles. Yeah. And these chambers are made in a way that, or these chambers are organized in an inverted pyramidal orientation. What do we mean? So we say that the chambers and structures form an inverted pyramidal orientation. So an inverted pyramidal orientation. What do we mean? So if you can see here, we have something which looks like it is like a V. So pyramids normally they look like this, but in our case we say it is inverted pyramidal orientation, meaning the orientation is inverted. Yeah. So that's the orientation of the heart. Yeah. Then after looking at the orientation of the heart, we are going to look at the borders. So the borders are very, very important when you are looking at the cardiovascular system, specifically the external structure of the heart. So basically you need to know what forms each border, because those are the question for the MCQs. So our first border we are looking at, it is the right border, which is this one. So the right border is also known as the right pulmonary surface. Why is it called the right pulmonary surface? So the right border, it is called the pulmonary surface because that's where the lungs are, or that side is related to the lungs. That's why it is known as the pulmonary surface. And what forms the right border? So the right border is formed by the right atrium. So the right border is formed by the right atrium. Yeah, so remember, even the diagram as shown, this is the right atrium, which forms the what? The right border. Then next is the anterior border, or the sternocostal surface. So the sternocostal surface, it is called the sternocostal because it is formed by the sternum and the ribs. Remember, the other names for the ribs is costal. Yeah. So the anterior border of the heart is formed by the right ventricle. So the anterior border is formed by the right ventricle. So unfortunately we couldn't show the anterior surface, but you can see where the right ventricle is. This is the anterior border, or the sternocostal surface. Then next we are going to talk about the left border, or the left pulmonary surface, which is this side. Yeah, I explained why it is called the pulmonary surface, because it is related to the lungs. Yeah. Then what forms the left border? So the left border is basically formed by the left ventricle. So left border is formed by the left ventricle. And remember, I'm not saying that the entire border is formed by the left ventricle. I'm saying most parts of the right border is formed by the left ventricle, because a portion is also formed by other parts of the heart. Yeah. Then next is the posterior border. So what forms the posterior border, which is also known as the pericardial surface? So the posterior border is basically formed by the left atrium. So the left atrium forms what? The posterior border. So whenever you see the left atrium, that is the posterior border, or the pericardial surface. Then the last border, or the last surface, is what is known as an inferior border, or the diaphragmatic surface. So an inferior border is this line which is below the heart. So that line is basically formed by two ventricles, the left and right ventricle. Yeah, so these are the borders which basically forms the external surface of the heart. We have the right border, which is formed by the right atrium. We have the anterior border formed by the right ventricle. We also have the left border, which is formed by the left ventricle. We also have the posterior border, which is formed by the left atrium. And I repeat again, don't get confused if they bring surfaces. So surfaces are just other names for borders. So you need to also know the surface and the border. Then the final part we are going to discuss in this video is the relations what are the relations? So when we talk about the relations of the heart, we are talking about how the heart is related to other organs, or where do the other organs sit in relation to the heart. So we have the superior. So what forms the superior part of the heart? So the superior part of the heart is formed by great vessels. What do we mean when we say great blood vessels? So when we say great blood vessels, we are meaning large vessels. Large vessels like the aorta, the superior vena cava, the inferior vena cava. Oh, no, sorry. The superior vena cava, then also the pulmonary artery, and the pulmonary vein. So these four are the structures which form the what? The superior part of the heart. So we have the aorta, the superior vena cava, the pulmonary artery, and the pulmonary vein. Then next we are going to talk about the anterior relations. So what are the anterior relations? So anteriorly, I told you anteriorly, even if you touch your chest, the first thing you will touch is your sternum. And we say that the heart is between the second and sixth rib. So meaning anteriorly we have the sternum and ribs. Yeah. And also what? I told you that between the ribs we have also what? Intercostal space. So these are the structures which are present anterior or anterior of the heart. Then you have also posterior. So posterior, the relations or the organs which are behind the heart, they are a lot. This is where you need to know. But a simple way you can know is that this is anatomy and it's basically practical knowledge. So meaning, you know that behind the heart there should be what? An esophagus, a trachea, left and right bronchus, and you also have the descending aorta and also what? The inferior vena cava. So posteriorly we find the esophagus, inferior vena cava. We also have the thoracic duct, and we also have the left and right bronchus. Then laterally, so laterally, I told you the left and right borders, they are formed by the lungs. So which means laterally we have lungs. Then inferiorly we have the diaphragm. Yeah. So these are the relations which makes or which forms the external surface of the heart. So remember, relations are important in your anatomy and physiology, and also the borders for your MCQs and your essay questions. Yeah, so this is where my part 1 video is going to end. I basically looked at the introduction, some terminologies, the external surface of the heart, and also the relations of the heart. So in the next video I'm going to look at now the internal structure of the heart. Yeah.